J Jinx!
Truck stop!
Well, this video is very overdue. So last year, I started the TSA Confiscated Carry Challenge, where I carried a bunch of stuff confiscated by the TSA. And then a whole bunch of real-life things happened and got in the way. And that's fine. This is just a hobby. I do it for fun. When real life needs attention, stuff like this goes on the wayside, you know? But I did carry these right towards the end of working for my previous employer. And then, you know, that was part of the life thing. Got a new employer. So, anyway, it's time to review this stuff. I gotta think way back. But I remember not having a whole lot to say except, well, these multi-tools were not too easy to use. This one was just really freaking huge. It was easier for me to grip than some of the previous ones, which, who uses these things? Giants? Andre the Giant might be able to grip this thing. I remember the tools on the inside were in, like, pretty rough shape, and I didn't use them very much. I was kind of afraid of using some of them because they looked like, well, they might infect me. So, yeah, I used the knife, but it's mostly serrated. It's like, I guess, half serrated. So I didn't get much out of it. It was not sharp at all. I'm just not a multi-tool guy. And I think that was, I mean, I'll talk more about this in reflection later, but I think I made a mistake when I got like half multi-tools and half knives. Should have just gone full-on knives, but anyway, this one, it worked pretty well, because I can wrap my hands around it. And I'll tell you one thing I learned is that these wire cutting teeth things, I guess it's a wire cutter because it's got the circle in there. I didn't use it for cutting wires. It was really good at cutting dowels, actually. I was putting together a piece of furniture and something went wrong, and a bunch of wooden dowels, you know, those like ones with the ridges they give you, just freaking snapped, and I was pissed. So I'm like, well, now what? Then I remembered in my basement I have wood dowels. I just have to cut them to size. And sure enough, this thing did the trick. You just, bam. Wow, that went far. I mean, it's a little bit rough, but it cut them. And that piece of furniture, finished putting it together. So, hey, and I remember trying it with this one, because like, well, this one's, you know, the Electro Impact, or whatever, or maybe that's a company logo. It's a sleeker looking thing, somehow more difficult to hold on to, but I figured these cutters should work better. They didn't. Maybe it's because the angle there, the dowel kept slipping out, and it was kind of a mess. Well, that segues to this one. The handles are just too slippery. Like, I appreciate these rubberized grips, and I don't know. There's just something about this cheap plastic. It's too slick. So I didn't use this very much because I didn't feel safe using it. And I have no idea what the Electro Impact means, if that's the brand or whatever. But, yeah, so this one didn't find as much time outside of my pocket. And there's just a couple of strange things about this one. Like, there's like jimping, there's like ridges there. I guess that's for grip. But no, they go on the inside, you see? I don't know what that is. For looks, I guess. And this isn't really a saw. It's got a ruler on it, but it's more of a fish scaler. It's like if AI were to make a multi-tool. But I'm more excited to talk about the knives, because they were quite different. I'm going to start with this personalized one. What was it? It's a RMR anagrammed blocky thing, made to kind of look like one of those old vintage personal pocket knives. I've seen them in this style with the Art Deco kind of work on it, the pinstripes and whatnot from long ago. This piece was not good. It was terrible. First of all the pieces are, it's just a cheap novelty thing that someone got from Things Remembered or something. Everything's just stamped out. There's no finesse to it. The scissors did not work at all, so I tried using them one time and like, nope. The blade was really bad. I mean, this thing is it's like flimsy, and I think it might have a single grind on it, which is something I only see on very cheap knives. I tried to cut something with it, and it just wasn't happening. And then there was the mystery tool. I don't know what this is for. I guess it's supposed to be a screwdriver. It's not sharp. See? It's totally flat, totally dull, all the way around. I'm guessing it's just to be a screwdriver or something, but it's quite loose. All of these things are. So, Mr. or Mrs. or whatever, RMR, I'm sorry that you received this, and I'm happy that you lost it. You're better off. I was very happy to see this. For a change, it was like a proper style of knife, a trapper made by Winchester, or branded Winchester. One of those yellow plastic scaled deals. One of the more intriguing things about this trapper, this knife, was how scratched the blades are, both of them. There's the clip point blade, and the spade blade is pretty scratched up as well, to a lesser extent. So this was a very well used, for something, I don't know what, knife. If I had a knife that I used this much and it showed, I don't know, I might be a little sad. But then again, it's just a cheap trapper. You've seen one, you've seen them all kind of deal. One of the things that I noticed and appreciated was that they've done some reprofiling work, I guess you could say, on the edge there. That's not the original grind. That is a custom job. And at first, I was like, you know what? It looks like they actually kind of did a pretty decent job. Maybe they knew what they were doing. I noticed similarly, they also did some sharpening work on the spade blade as well, and then gave it a tip. It's got a sharp tip now, which spade blades are not supposed to have, but now it's a custom spade blade, a stabby spade. However, they did not do a good job at all. I gotta go get my dowel. It flew across the room. It's really got some problems here, and here. I really don't think you'd have to look too hard to see the shiny, jaggedy bits on the edge there. It just wasn't sharpened well. The angle was maybe too shallow, or maybe this thing was just severely abused. It almost looks like there's rolls and delamination or something going on. And I was like, you know what? As tempted as I am to sharpen it myself, I did want to use these as they were confiscated. So I did. And you know what? Compared to the other knives from this package I got, this was probably one of the better ones. And that's just because the rest of them were not very good. So very long overdue. This concludes the TSA Carry Challenge, Part 1, because I feel like, well, let's get into the reflections part of it. Like I said, I screwed up. I'm not a big multi-tool guy, and the thing is, this was advertised as half multi-tools, half knives. by weight. So most of them were multi-tools. And big ones at that, with a smattering of knives in between. There were some small multi-tools. I don't remember any of them being good. These, I remember they were sharp and annoying and uncomfortable. I remember the golf one being interesting, because I'm like, it's the second one I've seen in my life. And I remember it being very sandy. And I was like, nope, can't clean it. Gotta use it as is. Had an interesting time with that. I wish I could have used this one. It's one of those Ozark Trail knives, or at least I think it is. Whew, boy. There's something going on with this edge. Well, it's an edge, but it was falling apart. There were some screws missing, so I didn't carry it. There was another knife that I straight up just threw in the trash. I don't remember much about that one. Oh yeah, the Spencer knife. See, I'm remembering these as I picked them up. There was nothing really out in the ordinary about this one. It's just one of those generic Swiss Army knife knockoff things, novelty. And I remember this one too had something weird going on. Oh yeah, it had one of these weird mystery tools that are it's all flat on every side, and I guess that's a flathead screwdriver, supposed to be. Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about that one. Another one of these with the gunked up logo. And I do remember this knife really well. I remember it was rattly, and it's a Tac Force Extreme knife, but the centering held up. The assisted opening mechanism stayed true. The lockup was pretty good, and it's their tactical line. And it's beat up, and it's small ninja, but it's got a deep ride pocket clip. I remember, especially in retrospect, I was like, this one was probably one of my favorites. So yeah, between these two, one of them was the best, but they're very different, so I'd put them on equal footing. Didn't really care for any of the multi-tools, except this one. This one gets an honorable mention because, holy shit, look at it. I was so tempted to clean this one up and like get it into decent shape, but then it would lose all of its personality. And strangely, even though it's like one of the biggest, it's easy to grip because the angle of the handle parts, they sort of bend here, and then it makes it easier to hold. It's a dirty beast. Fond memories. So, I do plan on doing something like this again, but I will forego the multi-tool component, or at least the 50-50 thing. I do want mostly knives, and maybe a multi-tool or two, or something like that, going forward. So, again, my apologies for how late this thing is. I am playing catch-up on some older projects, because life, got in the way. This has been JJ Jakes, Truck Stop, TSA Knives.